Hey everyone, it's Jordan Arell. I'm here and just arrived in Boston to promote Eric Klopper's play, Sex and Circumcision. If you're in the area, you should definitely come see it. It's going to be a mind fuck. And yeah, very excited for that. So, today what I want to talk about is how we talk about circumcision. Because I think there's a way that we sort of let the conversation be dictated by society or by the people we're talking to or by something outside of us that isn't actually the conversation that we want to be having. And so there's two sides to this kind of, and I'm not saying that it's not necessarily important to listen to people, to respond to them, to hear what they're saying, and be responsive, because that's another side of this, and maybe I'll talk about that some other time. Because one of the best things you can do to be listened to is actually to listen to somebody else, and that's really important. But today what I want to talk about is actually that it's also really important to listen to yourself. And when the conversation is leaning towards, well, what are the medical benefits? What are the not medical benefits? Or maybe it looks ugly to some people, or they say it smells bad. Excuse me, sorry. They say, give these kind of excuses for circumcision. And the fact is, those things don't really hold any weight and don't really hold any water to what's really going on in men's experiences, which is that this is genital mutilation. And it has crippling sexual effects, as well as psychological effects. And this is really important to understand, that when we talk about it, and someone is trying to sort of veer it in that direction, we need to control the conversation. We need to have a stronger frame of reference about what's really important here. Because it's not about those things. It's not about, whether or not there's a slight medical benefit. It's easy to argue and find the evidence that there's not, but it's a very diluted conversation, and it doesn't really matter even if there were the medical benefits that these people claim. It's still very slight. It's still barely anything. And versus at the very least, the psychological effects are incredible, are staggering. This ruins men's lives. I'll let that sink in for a second. It ruins men's lives. If you're not aware of this, circumcision ruins many men's lives just on the pure psychological, emotional aspect of it. They can't get out of bed in the morning. They literally kill themselves. I know men who have killed themselves because of circumcision, because they're so upset. I was on the verge of suicide for years, and plastered all across the internet you can find these men's stories. Underneath every circumcision video, underneath articles about circumcision, men are extremely, extremely upset about this. And, there are valid reasons for that, because there are definitely sexual effects of cutting away often most of the erogenous tissue on the penis. Of course there's going to be sexual effects of that. Are they hard to determine? Yeah, of course. It's done in infancy. It's done to children. We're cutting off healthy children's genitalia. Of course it's hard to scientifically measure how that affects pleasure, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't just because it's hard to measure. And it doesn't, it's a human rights issue too, you know, and we need to focus on that. We need to keep the attention on what matters. And so we really need to figure out how to redirect attention whenever someone's going on to sort of a tangent that isn't relevant, that isn't helping our case at all, and say, you know, look, even if there is a slight medical benefit or something like that, it doesn't matter. It should be an adult's choice, you know. That's an easy redirect. If they're saying, well, there may be some slight medical benefit. Yeah, well, I experience it as genital mutilation, and if I want to do that to myself as an adult for those benefits, then I can do that. But no one should ever do that to me for those benefits when I don't want that for myself. And you know, if some people think it looks better or smells funny or something, it's like, well, maybe I'd like that smell. Maybe I wish that I smelled like my body was meant to smell, the way I was born, and not how somebody else thought it should. You know, because really it's not, the argument is not about, or it shouldn't be about, what people prefer, what's better. It should be about autonomy, and it should be about human rights. And the fact that it causes extreme harm, and this isn't controversial. We know that men are in extreme positions of suffering because of this, and they shouldn't be in that position. So, I'm really tired. I got here super late, guys, and thank you for watching. I'm sure I'll talk more about this in the future. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Talk to you soon.